The iHemp Hour is brought to you by Down on the Farm, hemp seed oil. Better eggs, better fries, through hemp. Get yours at downtothefarm.biz. Dave Craybill. I'm with iHemp Michigan. iHemp Michigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness in people and the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. Mike Brennan, you want to kick us off with a little bit of news? You have something to share?
Yeah, I do. In fact, just recently, the Grand Rapids City Commission voted to fast track a recreational cannabis business called the U.S. Green Building Council of West Michigan. And it's going to be using, obviously, cannabis and hemp require a fair amount of energy. So, one of the things that they're going to be doing is partnering with the city so that by 2030, this public private partnership will be able to reduce the amount of energy needed and perhaps use alternative energy sources so that it's carbon neutral. And that's over where in Blain's neck of the woods. I'm assuming something like that will probably be useful around the state as well. So you can read all the details at my publication, MichiganMarijuanaReport.com, MIMarijuanaReport.com. And it'll tell you a bit more about what's going on there. Plus, we've got another dozen or so fresh stories over there. Lots of new provisioning centers opening around the state for people that want to use recreational cannabis, adult use. And you can find, again, all that information at MIMarijuanaReport.com. Back to you, Dave.
All right, thank you. Blaine, did you have a little bit of news you want to
Yeah,
kick
we'll
us off?
talk a little bit about news, and I'll probably catch up some at the end of the show too. But one of the big these newsy items that came out, I should say, was USDA Drug Enforcement Administration laid out its views on hemp and CBD and its interim rules that was released on August 20th. It's part of the process of making the agency compliant under the 2018 Farm Bill, which of course legalized our hemp across the United States. The big concern that everybody has on this is the words that they have about the extract and dry matter basis. And we know that during the process of extracting the CBD, that it goes above that 3%.
Oh, yeah.
And it's supposed to be less, the THC is supposed to be on a dry weight basis. So we'll talk more about this on another show, and we'll get some more information up on the website. But something we need to pay attention of. I'm surprised there hasn't been too much that's come out from like U.S. Hemp Authority yet or anything. They haven't talked about it. They're going to review it. But here's the key to this: is while the rules took immediate effect with the publication in the U.S. Federal Register on April 20 or 21st, or excuse me, August 2021, they're not final, with the agencies taking comments from stakeholders through October 20th. So again, we will cover this on another topic and more, but all of us need to pay attention to this and maybe make some comments to them. There are others that feel that this is just another way for the DEA to get their hands in here and overregulate us, which is certainly not the intent of what the legislation was to make industrial hemp legal. It was to get them out of that pretty much altogether. So MDART put out a little email this week, if you didn't get that, about their hemp drop-off procedures. Please make sure that you do check your emails and read those. You got to call in ahead of time, and you go to the lot. And when you get to the lot, you text them or call them. If you don't have a mask, they're going to ask you to leave at this point. So again, I know we're getting close to some people, we're going to be harvesting pretty soon. So make sure you read over those rules, and we'll maybe cover that on another show too, again, real quick. Talking about MDART, they have submitted their plan to USDA, and next week, we're going to have kind of a double show next week. MDART's going to come out, they're going to talk about a little bit about the plan, what they've submitted, and where we're going with that. And then we're also going to have Travis from the Hemp Mine. He was one of our speakers at last year's convention expo in Lansing. And kind of interesting, they're going to have field day tours in Michigan on September 30th. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And Travis is going to talk about some other really interesting topics as well next week. If you're down in Indiana, if we have any Indiana visitors on with us today, they're going to have a CBD infusion night, Feel Good Mexican Food, September 1st from 7 to 10 p.m. at Lauren and Maria's Mexican Grill in Carmel, Indiana. Sounds like a fun time if you're down in that area to stop in and do some networking with some fellow friends there for sure. Let's see what else we got. I've been getting on this Farm Journal Field Days. There was a free webinar they've had for 3 days. There is a couple of hemp things on there, U.S. hemp growers. Today they're going to have a real interesting one at about 3 o'clock. Hunter from the Hemp Feed Coalition is going to be on talking about what's going on with getting the trials and research and where we're heading with getting hemp to be able to use as a feed supplement for livestock. So that's going to be real important to listen to that. Also, hey, we made it. We made the top 10, believe it or not. Yeah. So we made the top 10 for states growing industrial hemp. Hemp Daily came out with their report, and Colorado's #1, and we make #10. So we're in the top 10. So
there we go.
Yeah, so we're growing in our size and our scope of what we're doing here in the state. So,
no pun intended. Yeah.
Blain, let me ask: do we know how many total acres are being devoted to hemp right now in Michigan, or a ballpark figure?
Well, the ballpark figure I'm going to say was around 10,000. Okay, they were a little higher than that originally, but I think that's probably where we're at this year. Now, how much that's going to get harvested, you have to be seen, of course. But and then. God, what was it, Dave? 10 million square foot, I think. Registered. How many of those people are going to grow? I don't know for sure. So, let's see. All right. So we'll talk about some of the other items at the end of the show. We've got a nice little recipe to give today. But today we're going to talk to Peter. Peter is with Responsive Drip Irrigation, and I saw an ad or something for this a while ago and talked to Peter, and we started talking about what his provides, the way they do this drip irrigation, and the responsiveness of the plants and what it does. So I'm going to let him get into more details on that. But so their system eliminates irrigation valves, no electric, runs at 1 to 3 psi. That's a 60% water savings from standard drip. They've seen over 30% to 388% higher yields, faster growth, days earlier for harvest. They've outperformed all hydroponic systems. So if this is the way, again, we're looking for a sustainable planet, sustainable world, and, in Michigan, we don't have too much problem with water, but certainly in other states out west and everything else they do. And so if we can cut the consumption of water use to grow these plants, and not only is this for hemp, but it's also for a lot of other plants too. So Peter, going to turn it over to you. Peter, maybe you can give us a little background on you and take it from there.
Sure, Blaine, thank you so much. Guys, I really appreciate you giving me the invite, to your meeting today. So just a little bit of background on myself. I was in the landscape industry. I was a contractor for 18 years. And lo and behold, I was at a trade show and I came across their technology. And shortly thereafter, just decided that enough on the landscape end of things as a contractor. And I took a position with responsive drip irrigation. And, from there, it's just, we are growing as a company, and it's truly because of our technology. There isn't anything on the market. Going back, Blaine, what you mentioned about you guys in Michigan not necessarily having water issues, there's large portions of our country that don't have the same issues. I'm based here in Southern California. You know, so, you know, our average rainfall is around 13 inches annually. So, and that's really, you know, worldwide. So we really are about saving our natural resources. And our system works on everything. So we are, you know, we're growing things in some of the most inhospitable climates around the world, from the African countries to the Gulf Coast region, you know, around in the Arab areas. And so we've recently hopped into the cannabis and hemp end of things over the last couple of years. And that's why when I saw, you know, Blain, when you and I spoke, it just perked my attention, because what we're seeing in our really in greenhouse and hydroponic settings is we're 21 days faster to, on average, faster to harvest. We are seeing, you know, on the last trial we just ran, which was for a grower up in Portland, Oregon. I mean, and this is a true professional grower. It's been doing this for 25 years. You know, he had 80% greater yields. And what we're able to eliminate is, because of our system being so responsive, there's no stress and strain on any of your plant material. And I will get into that here in a few minutes, but we are seeing less fertilizers and any sort of amendments having to be used. There is zero, you know, insecticides and fungicides that need to go in, because our, you know, the plant material is so healthy. And that's what I sort of want to kind of transition into, is just discuss with you guys about our technology. And, you know, the technology end of things is, it truly is, it's called plant responsive, because our system, our coating on the inside of our tape it reacts to plant root systems. It's called plants send out a chemical signal. It's called an exudate. And what an exudate is signal goes out and it releases the water molecules from the soil. So with our liner inside of our tape, it reacts to that signal and feeds the plant the water it wants, when it wants it, and the amount it needs. And that's it. So for example, I always put it in very layman's terms. If I'm standing right next to someone, you know, we're sitting there, we're having a discussion. You're thirsty, you grab your glass of water, you take a sip of it. You know, I'm thirsty, shortly thereafter, I take a sip of mine. That's exactly how our system works. So so there's zero waste, and that's where our savings comes in, you know. And there's also where we're eliminating mildew and mold issues and the white powdery mildew on plant material, which I know deals a lot with indoor grows. That has gone away because the plants are so healthy, because they're being fed. You know, we are a 24/7 responsive system. It doesn't matter if it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the morning. It's not waiting on the system to turn on at 7 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and water and, you know, and feed everything. That is where that's the reason for our results.
Do we have a video on any of this, by the way, Dave or Peter? Do we have a video we can show that would illustrate this?
I do not have. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, Peter. I have I think you sent over some photos of some greenhouses.
I did.
Okay,
I did.
I can share those at any point, you know, that content that you sent over. So
and what I can do for you guys is I can send you over. The issue I have with, I don't have access to my server on a Zoom call because of, well, the Russians got to us from a Zoom meeting about 6 months ago. They, you know, and wreaked havoc on our system. So that's the only issue I have right now. I only have access to, you know, I don't have access to the server because of Zoom. What I can do for you guys, I can send over some of our video presentations and different things that discuss a lot more detail about our technology and things like that. That way, at some point, you know, for you guys with iHemp Michigan, if you want to share, you know, with your people, we can do that. But as of right now, I only have what I sent to you guys.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and post some of those photos, Dave, that kind of illustrate what he's talking about, assuming that you have those photos?
So let me ask you a question, Peter. So let's talk about fertilization for a minute. So and this is a on-demand system. It's always on. So do
Yes.
you fertilize? Do you have fertilization in the water already? It's just there for them to grab throughout the season?
Well, right. So normally, Blaine, what we suggest there is we suggest you either put a port in, some sort of a port, or we've been using the easy flow fertilizer tanks. You know, and you can use the small ones. So what we always suggest is if you are putting amendments in your system, they have to be water soluble.
Yeah.
But that being said, you can use it. You know, you install your easy flow tank, your fertilizer tank, and it'll feed. So every time it's pulling more water from whatever your water source is, you know, a little bit of those nutrients get in the system, get in the water, and it's feeding the roots.
Okay.
So maybe let me ask what may be a stupid question, but how does the plant indicate that it needs more water? How you were using the example of when you're thirsty, you grab your glass and take a drink. How does the plant do that?
Well, the plant sends out, the root system send out a chemical signal. It's called an exudate. And so what that signal is being sent out, it's asking for, it's saying that it's thirsty or it's hungry. So what happens normally with that chemical signal that it sends out, it's more of a cellular signal, let's say it like that. It's releasing the water molecules from the soil. The soil's reacting to that signal and the water molecules now are released. So with our tape, with our tubing, it's exactly what happens. Our tape it's full, our lines are full 24/7. And when that signal is released, the micropores open up and release the water to that root system. And again, it can feed one plant and the one right next to it, it won't feed it if it's not ready to eat or drink. And so again, that's where we're getting such great results with plant health, you know, and growth and yields. It's because plants are healthy and happy all the time. They're never starving for any kind of water or nutrients.
Peter, a couple of questions. The logistics of this. So does this have to be buried deeper in the soil for it to work? Or, you know, because I normally think of like drip irrigation being across the top of the soil.
Right. So this does have to be buried. It is a subsurface because it will, over time, we'll have negative reactions to UV light. So we say you need to have your tape within 6 inches of your root system. So we normally say, what we do when we're doing our installations, our trainings, we say, you know, you want your tape within 4 to 6 inches of a root system. So whether it's the root ball, and that can be adjusted accordingly depending on what you're planting, right? So if they're seedlings, you can move the tape closer to 4 inches. If it's something that's a little bit more mature growth, then you can send them out a little bit further. And we also adjust, you know, varying depths. But rule of thumb is 4 to 6 inches away from the root ball, 4 to 6 inches deep.
And then a follow up on that. So, you know, with hemp, it's generally, you know, 4 foot up to 6 foot spacing. So if we use your system, is the water only being released right underneath that plant? So that spacing between the two plants, you don't have any water hitting those areas?
Well, that's correct. Yes. So what it does, there's water in our tape. Okay. So it's pressurized, but it's not, there's no water being released in between, you know, as you have your, you know, your separation, your plantings that are separated. So it's also where it helps out with, you know, a lot of your maintenance with your weeding and things of that sort.
That's what I was thinking, less weeds. Yeah.
Right. Less weeds. And really what it does is our system, because we do get this question, well, how do we get a nice balanced root system? Well, the way you get that, it's because, you know, what happens is the root system forms almost a sock around our tape. And why we don't get root intrusion is because that the water, it's feeding this root system. Those roots do not have to go down and really start searching out the moisture, the water. So it forms a nice sock around it. So that's why we always suggest you want, you know, our lines on the left side of the plant material and on the right side of the plant material. And we also suggest a simple figure 8 so that you have a very nice balanced root system growing around the entire plant, left, right, front, and back.
So this is an annual plant. That root system is still going to be there the next year when we go to plant again. Do we pull out? Do we scrap that line?
Right. So what we suggest with that, and it's so an annual crop, like, you know, like a hemp or cannabis is, let me say one thing. We do have a single use tape that's going to come on the market right around January of 2021. We've been, you know, we've been in working on that now in R&D for about a year and a half. But with our system for an annual, for a single use crop is, so when you come and you do your harvest, keep the water on, you know, keep the tape inflated, then give that for, we say 48 hours, 48 hours, turn it off, give the root system a little bit of time to decompose. We always say a week, it will release away from the root system or away from our tape. And then you can come and, you know, remove whatever's left and then come back and do your replantings.
Okay.
Does that, do you understand that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And how is this sold? Do you sell it by the foot or by what? How do you do that?
Yeah, we sell it by spools. So we have our spools that are in different lengths. You know, really our smallest spool is 1,000 foot. It's a 1,000-foot roll. But we go upwards of, you know, our largest roll is 2,500 linear feet. So, and cost on it varies depending on volume of purchasing. You know, that's why we really we're looking for distributors around the country and around the world that have the product on the shelf. But if you wanted to purchase it, if someone was interested in it, they could purchase directly from me, directly from our website, you know, and we'll ship it right to your door. And then we do have a PowerPoint presentation that we go through for training and marketing. So we have all the tools to make you successful with your install.
So comparing to what conventional we have right now, you know, the kind of tape we have, this, you know, has a little emitter on it. Sounds like yours has some different way that the water gets out, but are you cost competitive with that at this point? Is it more expensive? Tell us.
No, we're cost competitive with you guys being where we're a little bit more expensive is in the agriculture side of things right now. But I always want to explain that if you look at your bottom line when you purchase, okay, we look a little bit more expensive, but you have to, we truly believe, and this is where the education comes in with us, is that we need to explain everything with you. The initial purchase for an agriculture install is going to be around 40% more expensive for the material. But if you look at what you get over the course, you know, with the 10-year warranty on our tape, with, you know, with the greater yields, faster to harvest, all these things, it really ends up, when it's all said and done, you look at it 3 years later, you're in the black by about, you know, 100%. On with the landscape side of things, which I sort of put, you know, cannabis and that, because you guys are using a lot of standard polytubing and things of that sort. We are dollar to dollar. In fact, I just this morning put together a cost comparison for NetFM compared to ours, everything that's needed. And we're right on, we're within 1 percentage point of the cost of the NetFM compared to ours.
Dave, can you bring those pictures back up? Maybe you can help explain what we're seeing.
Sure.
All right, so what are we seeing? What are we seeing there on that picture?
Okay, here are, these are melons that were planted. This is a greenhouse that was built actually this is in Nigeria. And what we're seeing here is, okay, this area, for example, I apologize, this is Kenya. So Kenya, this is the Kakuma refugee camp. So what their biggest thing was, because their climate is so inhospitable, they have yet really to be able to grow and really harvest enough to take care of this refugee camp, the Kakuma refugee camp. So Mr. Chege, we went out there and did a whole training with him. We set up 5 greenhouses for him. And these are the melons that this is 6 weeks after he planted his seedlings. And the growth we're getting was unbelievable. And again, so their biggest thing is, he says, you know, now he's able to feed fruits and vegetables to this entire refugee camp. And there's about 3,500 people there. So that's what this is. So I was just I wanted to give you guys a look at, you know, greenhouses that we've had great success in. And I did this intentionally, not something that's in the US, but I did it intentionally just to show that we do great work in really awful climates. This is lettuce right here. This is organic lettuce. And now this is in Nigeria. And again, it just things that he was never able to grow. This was a gentleman named Debo at Big Farms. Now he's not dealing with any kind of refugee camps, but he's a farmer, and he's our distributor out there. And it's the results that he has gotten, and we have reports on this, you know what I mean, that the detailed reports that he's provided us with. Again, this right here, for example, with his lettuce, he was 40% greater yields than he had the previous season. And he was actually 42 days quicker to harvest.
Oh, wow.
So yes. And so all these kind of come into play. So he was actually able to get an additional harvest over the calendar year, you know, with our system. Now, I always say, granted, this is not necessarily, they're very knowledgeable, but they don't have all the technology we have in the US. So we expect their yields to be greater than a professional farmer in Central California, for example, you know, who's been in the industry for 100 plus years, the family. But again, so that's why I really wanted to focus with you guys on the hydroponics and greenhouse end of things, because it's phenomenal.
Now, is your system reusable? If you buy it one year, can you use it the next, or do you have to replace it every year?
You don't have to replace it every year, but what we don't suggest is we don't want it laid for a crop and then removed, you know, rolled back up and then relayed again for another crop. So we always say, because that's when you lose the warranty on it. We want the tape will work. Again, we give 10-year warranties on this. Our first trial was in Canada 15 years ago, and to this day, our system's still working how it was when it was first installed. But with this, so we don't have a single use yet. We have that coming. We should have that at the beginning of 2021. So this one, for example, we always say it works better for perennial crops, but it does work for annual crops as well. You just have to wait. You have to give it a little bit of time for the root system to decompose before you start removing that out. Or if not, it's going to be wrapped around the tape and it'll pull the tape out with it, you know, as you're doing after you do your harvest. So again, we say give it a few days. Once the water's turned off, that root system has now decomposed enough, and it will release, and you can come and pull it out. You know, we've had great success. Corn is a very similar thing with your corn crops. It's a single season, it's a single season growth. And the same thing, you have to let it decompose for a few days before you remove it and replant.
You remove.
Chris from Trickley's has got a question for you. I think we answered, but it says, does this have to be a constant pressure system, or do you zone schedule like regular irrigation?
No, it's a fully pressurized system. We don't zone it like standard irrigation because we are plant responsive, root responsive. Your line, and again, whether it's coming from a raised water tank, you know, we run at such a low pressure, you can be gravity fed, and it works great. Again, our system optimal pressure is 1 to 2 psi. So, so that being said, and you can reinflate it. So if you want to, if for example, if you want to winterize it in Michigan, it's in an outdoor grow. All you do is, you know, about a week before the first freeze, turn the system off, let the water, maybe release an end cap to let the water, make sure all the water's out. That's fine. It's winterized. Next season in the spring, you turn it back on, it will reinflate.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my question, is how does it hold up? Because we get freezes that go down several feet here in Michigan.
Yeah, I was going to be my question too.
Right. It'll hold up. It'll hold up well. And that's really was our first trial was in Canada, you know, where it's similar, you know, weather to, you know, to Michigan, for example. And it held up so great. It held up a lot better than any sort of, poly and PVC. It really did. We have had no issues with it. And now we're heading into our 15th winter where we're going to winterize that system again. So we have had no issues with it. We're in Germany right now, the same thing on cornfields. We've had no issues with that as well. So through our trials and our R&D, it's a-okay. Whether it freezes 2 feet down, it's okay. That tape will reinflate the following season.
So a couple other questions have come in. Dennis is asking what pressure is needed.
Okay, so Dennis, do you mean inbound pressure or your outbound pressure? Meaning, okay, so the way our system runs is your inbound, if you're running off of city water, you have to make sure we don't want your pressure, your outbound pressure going in our system to exceed 50 PSI, because we have what we call adjustable pressure regulators. So you go from your main water line to our APRs, we abbreviate call it an APR, then we go to our tape. So our APRs are based from 0.75 PSI to 8 PSI. Our system optimal running pressure is 1 to 2 PSI. That's it. Because it's plant responsive, we just make sure you got to have make sure your water source has our line filled all the time. And then again, pressure is 1 to 2 PSI is where we want you guys to set it. If you feel like you need more water, you can turn it up. If you go over 6 PSI, which you can adjust that APR to, then it becomes a forced system. So it's forcing it's pushing the water out of the tape. So we have options to solve everyone's issues, whether you're trying to, whether it's seedlings, whether it's, clones. So to answer your question, 50 PSI on your water is the most we want coming in. If you have more than that, we suggest you put a pressure reducer valve on it, because if not, it'll start splitting our seams. Our APR can only handle so much. But after that, for us, it's 1 to 2 PSI. That's why we can run off of a raised water tank, because all we need is gravity fed.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the seedling stuff, because I'm thinking in my mind, well, I get it when it gets to the roots, right? But if you're planting seeds or small seedlings, right? Your roots really haven't got out there yet. So you can actually make this a pressurized system to soak that ground for a little bit until that plant gets going.
You can. Now let me go through just real quick about our system, our curing process. So when the system's first installed, you turn it on. Now it's going to cure for 7 to 14 days. And with that it's basically, we have billions of micropores in our tape. So what the curing process is doing, it's filling in, it's clogging the larger micropores. So that will take 7 to 14 days, and you will see your water usage is quite high for the first curing process. But on the flip side of that, it works perfect for seedlings, germinating seeds. It's perfect for that because it gives it enough constant water in the beginning until the root system, is found and it becomes responsive. It gives it enough. And if you feel there's a need for more water, even after the curing process, that's when you can turn your APR up above 6, and now you are a forced system.
Does this work either in the ground or also under plastic as well too?
It does, yes. It does.
Is there any special tools or anything you need to install this from what we have now for the regular irrigation systems like this?
No, the beauty of it's because really all you need is a pair of channel locks. And that's just to, connect your main line to our APRs. Outside of that, it's your fingers. It's not more complicated. It is just a little bit different, than your standard drip irrigation systems. It's not about force, it's not about strong hands and, what I call ripping and gripping. No, it's just finessing our fittings on, because we use all twist tape lock fittings.
Mm-hmm.
You may have addressed this in the beginning, but have you used it in hemp fields? And if so, what have been the results? Has it sped up the process or what?
It has. We used it. We did a large hemp field in Southwest Utah, which I was a little bit surprised. They grow a lot of hemp out there though. And we had what we found, we didn't get an additional harvest through it, but we've gotten additional harvest through the cannabis end of things. When people are just growing from their clones to their harvest time. But with the hemp, with hemp in Utah, we saw 45% greater yields.
Wow.
And this is a gentleman, he's been running pivot systems on his, he was using pivots, and the amount of savings he had and the increased growth was second to none. He was amazed. He actually said, he goes, Pete, I call this the magic tube. He goes, I've never seen anything like this before.
Now, getting back to cannabis, though, you were saying that you could maybe get another crop out of this if you grow cannabis. Is that what I understand?
You can. Now, mostly, I know, look, in Michigan, I know you guys, your outdoor growing window is really short.
Yeah.
So, but out here in Southern California, right, where we're so mild, we are seeing our growers out here, we are seeing a second harvest on their cannabis. You know, they're planting their seedlings in early to mid-March outdoors. They're having a harvest come around, you know, July. It's where they're, and then they go ahead and replant. And then as long as we stay somewhat warm enough through October, let's say, for example, they'll get a second harvest. But in the indoor growing greenhouses and the hydroponic end, they are getting in one additional growth a year, one additional harvest a year.
And Peter, you're saying you void the warranty if you take it out of the ground, but if you wanted to retill that field, you need to take that out, right?
Okay, see, that's one thing, you know, that's one thing that we talk a lot about. It's about regenerative soil, you know what I mean? And not either doing a low till or a no till practices.
No-till, okay.
Because low till or no tills through our trials and the studies we found, and this is a big thing in the agriculture end of things right now, is that you know, there's a lot of healthy bacteria that's in soil that gets removed with a deep till. Okay. So we are suggesting to all of our agriculture clients is to, let's either go low till or no till. And so so if it's a deep till, let's say you're tilling 6 inches, 8 inches down, our tape would have to be lower than that, because if not, as you know, with the till, right, or you're disking it, it's just gonna rip it up.
But otherwise, if you're replanting, do you need to remove that root structure out?
No, you don't. No, you don't. If you can, you know, if because that root system is going to begin to decompose, right? For the old plants, right? The last harvest, that's going to begin to decompose. So you don't necessarily have to remove that, because those, once they begin their decomposition process, those roots are dead and they're done, and you can go plant right over the top and do the same thing. Or if you move it over 6 or 8 inches, you know, you'd start your planting like that.
Okay.
So it works. To answer your question, no, you don't have to remove that entire root system.
All right. Okay.
What size outdoor system have you had with it? How big, I guess, is what they're asking. Have you done?
Okay. So our largest outdoor project we've had was out here in Central California. We did 10 acres and now it's not a hemp cannabis on it. This is, these were citrus. It was Valencia oranges and Matsumas. So, and we did a direct comparison with Seton Farms, who's a big grower out here in California. So that's the largest we've done. It's 12 acres. Now, where on the cannabis end of things, we've done, okay, let's go to the hemp trial we did in Utah. That was on 4 acres that we did there. Our cannabis trials in Denver, Colorado, were on 1 acre. Our indoor grows, greenhouses, we've had them as small as 1,000 square foot greenhouse, and our largest one is 12,000 square foot greenhouse. So I feel our trials are getting.
So you said citrus. So you've done this this type of irrigation system with tree fruits then as well.
Correct.
It's great technology.
We've done a lot of different. No, it really is. The technology. That's really what attracted me to them. When I saw them at the trade show, I immediately bought some of the products. I wanted to use it at my house just to kind of give it a test go on it. And the more I started researching it, the technology, there is nothing else on the market. You know, it's something we hold 40 patents on, you know, international patents. And it's I always say, look, you know, this is saving our natural resources. It really is. We use zero electrical. There's zero electrical used. I know in the beginning you guys discussed about, you know, like I know a lot in the greenhouses, there's obviously you spend a lot on the lights and things like that. But our system, there is zero electrical because we have no electrical components that are set up. It's not needed.
Another question we have is any problems with different soil types possibly clogging the pores?
None. The only thing actually, our system runs better with a little bit of a higher particulate count in it. Where we run into a little bit of issues, and it's not and that's when we're going to suggest to flush your system. You know, so we have end caps so that you can do a periodic flush. But if we're using brackish water, you know, that freshwater saltwater mix, we're going to tell you about twice a year to flush your system just to make sure we get those deposits, make sure there's no deposits in there and get it released. If it's coming out of a pond or a stream and it's got heavy silt, we're going to say, you know, again, flush it or flush your system or put a filter, a 50 to 100 micron filter in it, you know, before, and that'll filter the water. But in a perfect world, we really want a little bit higher of a particulate count, you know, for the water, whatever water is being fed in. Our system works perfect for that. And if the water's too clean, then we have, you know, we say use Earth Alive, and there's a few different things we tell you to add to maybe a port or a easy flow tank, just to make sure we have some particulate matter in the system.
Ben has asked a question. He's on Facebook. Do you have a Facebook page at all that they can follow or that you have?
We do, yes. It's responsive. It's under responsive drip irrigation.
Okay.
And we have Instagram, we have our Facebook,
You have a
we have
website?
Twitter. Yes, we do. It's www.responsivedrip.com.
I'll post that for you, Peter.
Okay.
We'll get that up in the chat here. Let's see. What volume of water in gallons per minute per acre do you see on various crops?
Okay, it's interesting. That's the question we always get, right? What are your gallons per minute? And our answer to that, because we're not a traditional system, we don't measure gallons per minute. All we need, the only thing that is required is that there's enough water to have our lines filled 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's all that's needed. And our system's going to feed, you know, we say, look, if we're dealing with a larger orchard, right? Let's say trees are a little bit more mature. We're going to tell you, you know, we know our feeder roots are mostly surface roots. So what we're going to tell you is, depending on the size of the trees, maybe you install multiple lines, one closer to the root ball and your second line a little bit deeper, but closer to the outside edge of the umbrella. So that's how if you feel like you need more volume of water, we say add an additional line, because again, as long as we have pressure, when the root system's calling for it, it's getting fed. I know that's not the best answer, because I know we do get that question quite a bit with gallons. What is your gallons per minute or gallons per hour? Mm-hmm. And again, that's not the way our system operates. We know with the NetFM pressurized system, you can measure. We know if you get your 0.6 drip line or your 1 gallon a minute drip line, you know what you're emitting, you know, when you do your calculations. Our system's just not like that because it's responsive. But I will say it's going to give you the water you need.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions? We got come there. Keep coming in. If you got some more, we'll keep doing that. Well, this has been very interesting, and you know, I live in the heart of the fruit country here in Michigan, so I can see so many applications for this, especially where, you know, they don't take out the crop every year, right? I mean, that tree's there for many, many years, and yeah, I can see, and a lot of them are going to the a little more intense, you know, planting smaller trees, but yeah, you know, more plants per tree or more plants per acre kind of thing. So
right.
Yeah.
Another question just came in, Blain.
Let's see there. Can the tubing be applied with normal veg tape laying equipment or SDI layer?
We need the way we install it is with the tape injector. So, and that's actually, for example, we did in Central California on the 12 acres with our tape injector, which has 4 lines being laid at the same time. You can separate them accordingly. We laid 12 acres in 6 hours.
Wow.
So that is ideally because you can set it. We don't believe in having a trench. We believe, again, that way you can set the depth. What plant and crop you're growing. What the root system. So tape injectors are the perfect piece of equipment to use for the installation, because
so
it just lays the tape.
On that.
Mm-hmm.
What is a tape injector? Something of yours?
No, it isn't one of ours. It's really, the tape injectors are used. It's a common used piece of equipment in the agriculture industry. So what it does is it's pulled by a tractor, okay, and the back, the tape injector portion of it, it has like these J. So you have your reel up top, then you have your spool, then it has almost like a J looking instrument off the back of it. So what it's doing is, in front of that, it's boring out the depth you're looking for. So it bores out, let's say you want to go down to 6 inches. It's down 6 inches and it's creating a tunnel for you. And right after that tunnel is being created, the tape is just being laid it's not quite a J. It's more like it's sort of like an L shape, and it's laying the tape in the trench. And at the same time, as it's pulling through, it's also filling your trench back up. Yeah. I don't have something, but I would say just Google tape injector, and I'm certain you guys have that in the Michigan area.
I think so. I think sometimes different terminology for different parts of the
sure.
state kind of thing. Because obviously, from my experience when I did it last year, so we had the reel on top, so that's coming off, and then the plastic is right below that, so the tape goes in just out of the plastic, all in the same machine, just rolls it out and covers it back up.
That's right. That's exactly it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're certainly going to look forward to hearing more about this, and certainly the technology appears to be there, and like you say, maybe a little bit more on the upfront cost, but again, if it's a multi-year situation and if you're increasing your yields, so.
And that's it, Blaine. It's really, and again, we do have a single use drip tape that's going to be coming out, which is going to be a fraction of the cost of what our tape is right now. But again, so if you're going to be looking at around 27 cents a foot cost wise, because that's around your cost. So you're looking at and again, if you decide to buy volume of it, if someone says, hey, look, I have 12 acres, 15 acres I want to do, we're going to bring the cost down a little bit on that. But I do look at, and that's one thing I want everyone to understand and know, is that you really go to our website and do a little bit of research on the company and the technology. But what you get when it's all said and done, you have to look at not just your initial cost. And I know a lot of times that's okay. That's a line for someone whose product is expensive. It really isn't. We're competitive with your Netafims, with your Rivelis, and these sort of drip tapes and drip tubings. But you got to look at the whole picture of what you're getting from our system. And I think from a business standpoint, it'll make a lot of sense.
1,000 feet's the smallest though right now, Peter.
There is. We are looking for, in a perfect world, we would have a distributor in Michigan. I know Trickley's is out there.
His hand.
Right. I know Trickley's is out there right now. I know he's listening. Phil, I'm looking for you. I've been trying to get a hold of you. But, ideally, that's what, we want to be able to send you guys to a distributor. Right. That way, if you don't have to buy 1,000 feet, if you need 500 feet, if you need a few hundred feet, you can get that. But as of right now, through us, if anyone wants it from us, they have to order a minimum of 1,000 feet. And just to give you an idea, 1,000-foot package is going to cost you somewhere around that $400 with all the fittings, with the pressure, you know, with the regulators, you know, with our gauges and things like that. That's about where your cost would be on that one.
Okay. All right.
Well, Chris wants you Chris from Trickley's wants you to give him a call. I don't know.
Okay.
I got Phil's number, but I don't have Chris's number. I don't think.
I think I think I've
right
left
there.
Chris a message.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No. So
Can
Chris, he put his phone number in there. Can you see the chat stuff at all, Peter?
I'm
No?
only seeing I do see the question, but I sort of get part of the question. I'm not seeing everything.
Yeah, on the phone. Yeah.
It's fallen off, so I'm just getting
All
like
right.
a quick glimpse
I'll make
of
sure
it.
that I get Chris's number to you. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, so that's really,
Chris,
you know,
carry it, Chris. I'll come by if some from you.
it's, you know, and that's something, Chris, you and I can have a discussion about that when we start talking about our potential distributors. But it's, you know, again, I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. You know, Blaine, thank you so much. And I want you guys to know, is that his number right there that just popped up?
I
can't.
Yeah.
think, isn't that the number 959?
Yeah, there we go. And I really want, I'd love the opportunity. If anyone has any additional questions for me.
So we have a question on Facebook that Diane has posted. Can
Okay.
we use the system in bags?
You can use them in bags. You can. You know, okay, so Diane, what do you exactly for bags? What are you using? Is this sort of like for vertical tray plantings with bags?
I'll have to let her respond. Becky's helping us with the Facebook side of it. So
So-
Okay.
So typically, if it's cannabis, it's what about how big are those bags, Blaine? You know, so they could be out in outdoor grow, Peter. You know, still in bags.
Mhm.
And that's fine. Yes, we can use it. The only reason why I asked is because we have a little bit of a different philosophies behind whether it's like a vertical wall or a hydroponic kind of a setup. Kind of a, you know, what I mean by vertical wall is like a layered, you know, multi-layered, almost like an A-frame looking setup. Yes, you can grow it in bags. You absolutely can. It actually works. It works in any kind of setup. So the outdoor bags, in fact, our Denver client, they're called Rooted to Earth. So if anyone wants to reach out to Rooted to Earth to see what kind of results we're getting, they're based out of Denver. You'll see that they had different grown. It was 100% outdoor grow, but they did some in the bags. So basically, it was a bag that kind of had the root ball wrapped in it, and they grew it in multiple applications. So to answer your question, yes, bags are good.
Yeah, as long as you get that hose down near the root system, it's going to do its job, right?
That's exactly it. So
Yeah.
It just gets a little more tricky on the installation when it comes to something like that, because you have to figure out how to get, you know, with the bags, you got to get the tape there.
Mhm.
But again, that's something, and I always say this to anyone, we are here as a manufacturer to answer any questions, to do any kind of training on any application that's needed.
You
Peter,
said that name again was what?
Rooted to Earth.
Rooted to Earth.
well, he's writing that down. Is there any difference in performance between an indoor grow and an outdoor grow, or are they the same results?
Well, I wish I could say they were the same, but to be honest with you, we're seeing great results on both end. But our indoor results and trials have blown us away with what we're seeing. So no, I'm going to say our indoor growing we're seeing better results than outdoor. Both great, but we're seeing, again, production up 40, 50% on a normal basis indoor growing.
Well, there you go, Dave. I know you're an indoor grower, so.
Not really. I've got that little greenhouse, but it's pretty much open. But yeah, that's where I'm planning to pick some up for next season, Peter. So I will buy it from Trickley's. So no Trickley's when. Is it?
Oh, there's a question of indoor growing in bags. Yes. There's a lot of people that do that theory inside of a greenhouse or some kind of cover. And yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Diane's on Facebook. It was a 50 gallon bag, I think is what she said, right?
Okay, so that's a that's a large bag. Absolutely. It makes that actually the process a lot easier with something, if we're talking a 50-gallon bag.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Nice.
maybe you can work with Trickle-Ease a little bit, and maybe some of the people here can work through them, and maybe we can try some. They can try. Everybody wants to try a little bit probably before they go full bore on it, but sounds like maybe we can rate a little bit of interest here. So.
Right. And what we do, just for you guys to know with our distributors, so, I'm talking to everyone, but Chris, if you're on, we do come out and we do a full training, live training session. We, like myself, would be there to train Trickle-Ease, their counter guys, their counter people, anyone who needs the training that way, because we need everyone to know in depth how the system works so that anyone coming in, they can be educated on our system. So we do offer that for every one of our distributors. Because again, our success is your success. We need everyone to succeed here.
Yeah.
Well, let's see where this thing goes, and potentially, iHemp Michigan can maybe sponsor something to carry this further and show people how this works a little bit better. So, yeah,
I'd be more than happy to come out somewhere out in Michigan and we can do a test run on something. We can talk about how to make, how we can make it work for all of us. And again, because I know you guys will be happy and impressed with it, even though I know you don't lack water out there.
Yeah.
Well, but remember, one thing we do have coming up in just a few months is the expo, and whether it be virtual or live, then that might be a great place for you to be able to show the product and that kind of thing.
What are the dates on the expo? Because that is
January
something.
22nd and 23rd.
And we guarantee it'll be sunny and 70, so no problems.
Right.
If it's a live show, we do promise between 65 and 75 degree temperature indoors. So
that's fine. Look, I can wear. Well, I don't necessarily have a large parka, but I got a beanie, and I'll just layer up. It's a-okay. No, that was something I'm glad I know about that, because I'm going to send that to the home office, because we really are about the expos and trade shows, because you can firsthand see the product, and there's a lot more talking that can be done, in a face-to-face. Like, we're in Mexico City here in November. Well, potentially we'll see how, with this, they don't want us California people anywhere right now, anywhere.
Well, Peter, on a personal note, how are you? I mean, how far are you away from the fires and everything? Is that affecting you? And anything going on for you out there?
No, thank you for asking that, Blaine. It isn't really right now. It isn't. Most of the fires are further north from where I'm at. I'm right here. If anyone's familiar with the area, I live right by the LAX. I'm really close to LAX. So we're okay, but it's just everything else that if it's not a fire, we haven't had an earthquake in 20 some odd years, a major one, but we just can't get rid of this COVID right now.
Yeah.
We can't get our numbers down. So no kids, my kids aren't in school, and, I'm still working remotely and all those wonderful things.
You relate.
Yeah. How about you guys?
Right now, our COVID is, I'm going to say, better controlled than most states.
Okay.
And so I think we're doing well there. Our problem with going ahead with the expo and trying to say, yes, we're going to be live, because we have a backup virtual, and we may need to move to that platform. But we can only have 10 people in a meeting at a time, kind of thing, in a group.
Okay.
Indoors. Outdoors, you can have them a little larger, but it's a little hard unless you're skiing or snowboarding.
Right.
It's a little hard to have an outdoor event in Michigan and make it a good one.
Well, that's true, especially, especially in January, right?
Yeah.
I haven't been to Michigan in the wintertime, but I love college football. So I've seen a lot of Wolverine games and Spartan games, in November, December, and January. Looks a little bit frigid, looks a little cold.
You won't be seeing him this year.
I got to admit, I'm hoping that our Sparties, for all those that I know it's going to cost some, some good movement there. But I hope we get to play basketball. We've got an awesome team this year, so I'm just hoping we get to play this year. So.
Hey, look, I'm a diehard UCLA Bruin fan on this end, and we had one of the best recruiting classes we've had in a long time, and I'm the same way. Football, that's something different, but yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed if we don't get our basketball. But I love Tom Izzo, by the way, too.
All right, good man.
He's a good man.
You're making bonus points on my side. On other side, you may not be, but you're making bonus.
Hey, look, I got a chance to watch your, Michigan Wolverine fans, your head football coach for years at Stanford. So, no love lost with him, with Harbaugh, but, he's a good coach.
Yeah.
He can't beat Ohio State, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we only got a couple minutes left, Blaine, so we need to see the recipes.
Little cough attack, yeah. A couple things. Again, let me remind everybody that we're getting a lot of phone calls and emails from people that are looking for buyers of their biomass this fall, processors, drying service, people to help harvest this fall. So utilize that iHemp classifieds that we have. It's really cheap. We've made it that way on purpose so that everybody can use that. A great way to connect back and forth. So if you're looking for some kind of service, you're looking to sell flour, you're looking for help, whatever, put your information up there, and I'm sure that we'll be able to make a good connect that way for that. We've already talked about the expo, so I won't go on that. The Midwest Hemp Council, they're planning on having an industrial hemp expo as well, Thursday, February the 4th, and Friday the 5th. More details will be coming out on that as they get that planned as well.
That's Hemp at the Crossroads.
Hemp at the Crossroads. Hemp at the Crossroads. All right. So this week, unfortunately, I did not get a chance to make this, but this is my afternoon project because I didn't get a chance this week to make these ahead of time. But sweet potato hemp burgers.
Ooh.
Yeah. It says they're gluten-free and vegan delicious. So, the ingredients on here, we'll have this all posted on there, but they're talking about you got to use hemp seeds and pumpkin seeds and flower seeds, and sweet potatoes and creamed coconut, which was an issue for me to find. I could not find it in the regular stores, so I had to go to the health food store to get that creamed coconut. 1 tablespoon of sea salt, a big twist of black pepper, a half a tablespoon of nutmeg, 2 tablespoons of onion powder, a tablespoon of ground coriander, and then 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, C-U-M-I-N. I never say that right, but
cumin.
Where's your hemper hat?
Oh, I haven't. Oh, I was just told by the gallery that. Sorry. There we go. All right, there we go.
There we go.
Now it makes it official, right? Otherwise, it's not official. You don't have the chef hat on.
Good job, Becky.
Food processor blender seems to work the best, they say in here, and I will have reports on how yummy this is next week, and I'll have some pictures for you to show on that. My grandkids are coming for the weekend, so I use them as a testing. We'll see if they like it, then it's got to be good. So again, thanks again. Next week be an interesting show. We're going to have MDART on. They're going to talk about a little bit about the plan they submitted. Hopefully they'll give us an update on that. Maybe we'll hear we got approved by then, maybe. And then also we're going to have Travis with the Hemp Mine talking about their little show they're going to have down in Litchfield, Michigan. And they have 150. Now, they're not going to have 150 varieties there, but the one that they're doing in South Carolina a few weeks before that, they have side-by-side trials. They've got side-by-side trials that they're going to have down in Litchfield as well. So it ought to be a good thing. It's only $16. I did go on and register. I would suggest that you go on and register very quickly. If you can, thehempmine.com/pages/field days events. And you can get registered for that because, there's going to be restrictions that they're going to have too, just as well down there. So if you're interested in it, that's going to be September 30th, $16. Sounds like a real good opportunity to maybe see some actual hemp being grown and get some questions answered on genetics. Travis did a great job last January at the expo, talking about genetics and things that you had to take care of or look at when you're going to grow hemp. So looking forward to being part of that process. Anybody else got anything?
No, sir. All right.
Well, I got to
Thanks,
get my
Peter.
shameless plug in yet, so don't forget. This is my last week for being a sponsor for.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, you want to bring them up, Dave? Can you?
Yeah.
So if you go on to downonthefarm.biz, you put in iHemp hour, you get a discount on the oil. I should have that ready for mailing out next week or distributing. We're running a new batch. The first batch we did was all sold out. So, and making very good progress on being able to have hemp parts available very soon as well, and the flour. So looking forward to all that.
I'm gonna tag it on to, I forgot our sponsors this week.
Yeah.
Got to do a shout out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks to Crystalline for sponsoring. It's another sponsor, Crystalline, with their THC Delta 8 products, the Savvy products, and then of course our good buddy Blain with Down on the Farm, the hemp seed oil. So yep.
One other announcement that I want to make is there's been some really good progress made in the last week or so regarding decortication of the CBD plants, being able to separate the herd from the fiber. And I believe next week I'll have a onboarding application where farmers can go on and give me their information if they're interested in selling their CBD plants this fall, the stalks. Looks like we're going to be able to have a market and be able to help people out a little bit and start really getting the industry going with that. So next week I'll have something on the website, downonthefarm.biz, that you can go on, put your name in there, where you're at, how many plants you got, that kind of stuff. And we'll talk further about being able to buy that crop this fall.
It's
Good.
exciting. The
Yep,
fiber
very exciting.
and grain is coming.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Whoops, I've got everything covered up. Hold on. There's a. How's that?
Great. Yeah.
I'll be sure to order some here before this special deal runs out, Blaine.
Yeah. Yeah. Jen, and the name will be changing. We have tagged the Hemperor will be the brand name that we're going to go with. So.
All right. Gotta have fun with it.
You got to. If it isn't worth fun, it isn't worth doing. So.
That's right.
Peter, again, thank you very much for being on the show today. Any last words you want to shout out?
I want to thank you guys again. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. You guys have a good, this is a good thing you guys have going with iHemp Michigan, and I'm excited to be part of it. And I look forward to working with you guys, with some of your projects coming up.
All right. We'll send you that members application then.
Send it on over. Send it on over.
The maple syrup got mailed out to you the other day, so you should be getting that soon.
Excellent. But no, do send me an application if there's such a thing. I'd love to be part of it.
Fantastic. All right.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Good day, everyone.
Next
All
week.
right. Cheers.